What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Dark Previews. We've got a big slate of games on the NBA today, but I've only got two bets down that I'm going to take you through today. We've got a ton of game time decisions that I'd prefer to wait on, but I'll take you through those two picks. Let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.
Before we jump into the picks, we do have to recap the day that was. I shared 3 picks on my last video, went 1 and 2, so losing day on the video. But overall for VIP, it was pretty good. 5.12 units profit. It was an okay day. Could have been so much better though. We got hooked on 3 different value players that would have skyrocketed the profit, but regardless, we'll take the W and we'll get the hell out of here. 5 and 2 on straight picks. The only 2 losers I did happen to share in the YouTube video. Kelly Oubre over 6.5 rebounds. This was an awful bet. I've had enough of Kelly Oubre and getting boards. He got 2 rebounds in 41 minutes. He was also the weak side help defender for the majority of the game. That's what I expected him to do. He did check Steph late in the game. That took him out of rebound position, but for the most part, he was there. But Quentin Grimes, he seemed more determined to get them. Andre Drummond, absolute animal. That's the second game in a row now where I should have bet Kelly Oubre points, but I bet his rebounds. So probably going to stay away from Kelly for the next week or two. I also bet on Kyrie Irving to go over 5.5 rebounds, and this was crazy. I didn't watch this game, but I was checking the box score when I was out today, and at one point he had 6 boards, and I was like, hoorah, let's go. And then I refreshed, went down to 5, and I was like, great. 1 stat correction, we just need 1 more rebound. Then he got stat corrected again, and it went down to 4, and I was like, we're cooked here. Finishes the game on 5 on the hook. I didn't hate this bet. This was a plus money play. It was like plus 125. And my man got close to it. What can I say? Did hit a couple of winners, though. Mark Williams over 15.5 points. That was easy. He dominates the Wizards once again. DeMar DeRozan over 7.5 rebounds and assists. The wagon continues to deliver. I took that bet of DeMar DeRozan, and I told the guys that I'm taking it purely on hit rate. The matchup sucks. He's a terrible rebounder for his size, but hey, can't deny the hit rate sometimes. Took Bilal Coulibaly over 18.5 points and assists. He gets it done late. Got a little bit sweaty, but he did start cooking in the 4th. Santi Aldama took his over 23.5 PRA. He smashed this early in the second half. Asar Thompson over 13.5 points and assists. He gets busy in the 4th to deliver. I like the play on Asar Thompson. Factoring the Pistons probably bounce back strong after shitting the bet against Denver. Asar Thompson, his minutes are blowout proof, so I did love his bet. And then we hit some value plays. On top of that, we hit a parlay. Coulibaly, Aldama, and Thompson. That was at plus 595. We hit a Mark Williams value play, Asar Thompson value play, Santi Aldama value play, and we hit a doubles combo with Aldama and Thompson. So we got 1.8 units out of that. So 5 units profit. Not the most amazing day that I was looking for, but hey, I'll take it. Things are starting to trend in the right direction. Had a couple decent days. Let's keep it moving. But if you do want access to just my straight picks, which I went 5 and 2 on this particular day, that will cost you $1 a day. If you're interested, you'll also get my DFS pick'em entries if I do happen to play those. And for VIP, that includes everything, plus all my value plays, my parlays. It's actually every single bet that I make on every single sport. You can get it for 50% off for the next 2 months if you use the code SANTI when you sign up. Santi Aldama was an absolute beast today, so show and respect his way. I'll leave links to that in the video description down below if you are interested. Now, 2 picks, then I'll take you through some of the ones I did consider, and I'll take you through the reasons why I didn't take them, but enough about that. Let's do it. Let's go. Jumping in props madness the way that we always do. This is the best tool you are going to find if you like betting on NBA player props. It's not like the others. It's got more advanced data. It tackles things from a different angle. It's not just about how people play against a certain position. This is very specific to play type, shot zones, all that type of stuff. Check it out. You get a 7-day free trial and 25% off if you use the code DARF when you happen to sign up. Now let's talk about it. The 2 bets that I have, we'll go through first. Then I'll take you through a couple of things that I did consider and how I managed to talk myself out of them. The first pick that we're going to look through today is in this OKC Thunder versus San Antonio Spurs. Someone I bet on heavily at the start of the season, but haven't as of late. It's Isaiah Hartenstein. I'm taking his rebounds today. Over 11.5, it's a plus money play, plus 106, plus 110 at Bovada. Pretty much plus money in most books. So why are we running with Isaiah Hartenstein today? First thing is Chet is out. So no Chet Holmgren. That always helps. And part of the reason why is like his form's been pretty patchy as of late. Chet being in the lineup with Isaiah Hartenstein is throwing things out. His minutes have been inconsistent. And even most recently, I think against Atlanta, Isaiah Hartenstein played off the bench. So they're still trying to figure out how they play Chet and Hartenstein at the same time. But with no Chet, they don't have to worry about that. I love the matchup here against the San Antonio Spurs. Since Wemby went down, this San Antonio Spurs team has been getting eaten alive. I think the news about Wemby came out on the 20th of February, as soon as I guess during the break, really. And since then, check it out. Jalen Duren against a line of 12.5 had 15 rebounds. Isaiah Stewart had a line of 5.5, had 8 rebounds. Missy, 7.5, had 15 rebounds. Then the line moved up to 8.5, and he got 11 rebounds. Then most recently, Zach Edey, line at 8.5. He finished with 9 rebounds against the Spurs. Pretty much Bismack Biyombo, as great as he is, not at the level of my man Isaiah Hartenstein. He's also not going to tread too far from the rim, so Hartenstein should be in a good spot to get rebounds. I'd say this, the only risk in this game is a blowout. This game is being played in San Antonio, so hopefully the Spurs keep it somewhat competitive for at least 3/4 of the game. Isaiah Hartenstein, if he sees the minutes, 25 to 30 is what I'm projecting him for, then he should be able to deliver here without Chet Holmgren. So didn't get too advanced on that. It was very specific to the matchup. It's one that I've targeted a few times. Took Edey today in a value play. Smash Kelly Olynyk against the San Antonio Spurs. Like, the matchup is just fantastic here. So I'm liking Isaiah Hartenstein to get boards. Outside of that, what are we looking at? The second pick, we're rolling to the New Orleans Pelicans versus Utah Jazz. Now, I think every man and their dog probably bets on CJ McCollum today. And part of the reason is history's on your side. 26 and 45 points against the Utah Jazz this season has absolutely murdered them, and it makes sense. The matchup is fantastic. I'm not betting on CJ not because of the matchup, because his form is not very good. He's been playing like ass, and he's still been seeing volume. He's taking shots, just not making them. But you know who else is on their team who plays in a very similar way to CJ McCollum, who also has a great matchup, but he's playing a lot better? This man is Jordan Hawkins, and I'm taking him for over 12.5 points and rebounds. And the whole reason I've added the rebounds to it is I'm getting much better odds. So I use Bet365. I'm getting minus 105 for 12.5 points and rebounds. But if I just look at his points, it's minus 140. And I ain't touching odds like that, especially knowing if I send this out and the odds probably move, then people aren't going to get a good number on it. So I'm rolling with the points and rebounds. The rebounds, he's been doing quite well recently anyway. Now let's talk about it. Why do we like Jordan Hawkins outside of the matchup? Firstly, he's projected to play 23 minutes in this game. And I think the main thing to factor in here is Zion. Zion Williamson is playing, and he impacts everybody on this team when he's on the court. So these are games for Jordan Hawkins with Zion Williamson. And then what I wanted to do is look at games where he plays at least 20 minutes. Let's go 20 to 30 just to be a bit more conservative. But then if we factor it in the matchup, so Jordan Hawkins scores a lot of his points in transition. This Utah Jazz team gives it the most points in transition in the league. He also scores from above the break. 40% of his points come from above the break. This Utah Jazz team, most points allowed above the break. So if we just factor those things in and we look at, firstly, the teams that allow points in transition. We know the Jazz are the absolute worst, but let's just look at the bottom half. Now, when Jordan Hawkins plays the bottom half of the league in limiting points, in allowing points to transition with Zion Williamson, over this line in 6 out of 7 games, averaging 16.1 points and rebounds. Now, that's when he's playing 20 to 30 minutes. Now, if we remove that filter and we just look at the teams that don't defend above the break very well, where Hawkins scores a lot of his points, he's over this line in 5 out of 6 games, averaging 14.3 points and rebounds. So pretty much what I'm saying here is where Utah are soft, if Jordan Hawkins plays with Zion Williamson, he's got an amazing hit rate. And on top of that, he's just playing very good in general as it stands. I like what I've been seeing from Jordan Hawkins. He's taken a lot of volume given the amount of minutes that he's playing. Hopefully he continues with that volume and he delivers on this. If you just want to look at his boards, take a look. The boards have been pretty decent. If you look at his boards with Zion as well, with Zion, when he plays more than 20 minutes, let's look at 20 to 28 minutes. His rebound rate's fantastic. 7 out of his last 10, 6 consecutive games covering his rebound line, which is why I added the boards to this, and we're getting pretty great odds. So the 12.5 at minus 105, give me that. I love it to death. And you wouldn't believe it. It just moved. So looking at minus 125 as it stands. But it's still a lot better than this minus 140 that I would have gotten. So Jordan Hawkins, over 12.5 points and rebounds. That's the second pick that I've got for you. Pumping the brakes as we usually do. I wanted to say thank you for everyone for all the support, the wonderful comments you guys continue to leave me. Hopefully you guys have been smashing it and doing well out there. I ask that you like the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. This is my second channel, but it's probably the main channel I'm going to be using. Don't want to put the old one at risk just yet. I'll figure out what to do with that one later. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment down below. Let's help the algorithm push this out to more people. Hopefully we can grow this new channel to 15,000 by the end of the season. We'll see. Let's get the subs rolling in. It helps me out a lot. Now, I'm always looking to give you guys as much value as I can, and a lot of you guys like my insights. So I'm going to take you through a list of leans. Well, it's not really a list. We'll just go through game by game, and I'll tell you what my thoughts are, my reservations, and we'll see if you're on the same page as me. That sounds interesting. Let's go. All right, heading to the first game, it's the Nuggets versus Celtics. I do desperately want to try to get a bet down on this game before I go to bed. The difficulty here is we've got some game time decisions that are pretty impactful. Jaylen Brown, I think he's got a knee problem at the moment, and Aaron Gordon just sprained his ankle again. So they're both game time decisions and pretty impactful players to their team. So that's part of the reason why I haven't put a bet down yet. I do need to dive a little bit further. It might be a bet where I have to kind of anticipate whether there will be an injury or not. It's either going to make me look like a genius or an absolute idiot, but we'll see. We'll see if I end up landing on anything. Jason Tatum's been balling out of control at the moment, but being honest with you, I consider taking his under in his PRA. This was at 46.5. It's still on 46.5 on some of the books. And part of the reason for that is Jason Tatum has to play like an absolute psychopath in order to cover this line. But if Jaylen Brown is out, then this line probably moves a little bit higher. So, but yeah, I did consider taking an under for Jason Tatum because that number is way too high. I think that's the highest PRA he's had all season. Nikola Jokic did consider an over in his points, but I think Kristaps is playing. No, Kristaps is already out. Oh no, Kristaps is a game time decision too. Kristaps and Drew Holiday, but it's unlikely that Kristaps and Drew Holiday do play. So usually I'd look at Nikola Jokic if Kristaps was playing to go over. I think they'll back Kristaps to kind of defend him, but with no Kristaps, they're probably going to be a little bit light at the center spot. Do they double? That I don't know. I don't know what the scheme's going to be here against Jokic. So as much as I love betting on him, I probably can't in this game. Blazers versus the Cavs. Now, big news. We've got Donovan Mitchell's out for Cleveland. Denny Adviar, Jeremy Grant, their game time decisions. So can't bet on anyone for Portland just yet. The Cavs, you know who's playing, you know who isn't. There's a couple of good looks here. And you can do this very well with Props Madness. With other websites or tools, you kind of have to keep playing with the filters depending on the players that you change. But with Props Madness, if we just say games without Donovan Mitchell, you can click through every single player on this Cavs roster and it will show you all their games and how they performed without Donovan Mitchell. And the key call out here is almost everybody plays better when Donovan Mitchell's not there. So I think that's to be expected. So for me, I think Darius Garland has a great game. The matchup against Portland is okay. Portland, not the best at limiting points in the pick and roll. They actually give up the 8th most points in the pick and roll. However, they do allow the 4th fewest points above the breaks, which means they're going to funnel someone like a Darius Garland towards the rim, and we'll see if he has the ability or even if he chooses to take the shot. So that's a bit of a concern of mine, but he's performed very well without Donovan Mitchell. Evan Mobley to score points is probably the first person you'd think of. You'd assume that his volume and stuff will go out. In reality, it doesn't. When I looked at this, it's like his points are great, 24 points per game without Donovan Mitchell in 3 games this season. But what I noticed when I was looking into this, he only averaged 13 field goal attempts in that game. So on the season, he's averaging 12.6 without Donovan Mitchell in a 3-game sample size, only averaging 13 field goal attempts. What I found when I looked through these 3 games, he just shot extremely efficient in those games. So it's not like he saw a massive bump. Like his usage rate barely even changed with and without Donovan Mitchell from when I was looking at it. So you could say that these games here, they're not all, but they're outlier-ish, where he's shooting 60 to 70% from the field. And if he does it again against Portland, then yeah, he's going to go over his line. He's got a decent matchup against Portland, pretty soft around the rim. So I don't mind the over. I actually considered his PRA because I think he can eat in every stat category. I just couldn't build a strong enough argument to take it. And we're also working with a 3-game sample size. And if you guys have been tailing my videos, you know that when I work with very small sample sizes like this, a lot of the times it blows up in my face. This can give you false confidence, and I ain't about that right now. So passing all that, despite it looking great, being honest with you, I'm looking for maybe a Ty Jerome, and his lines aren't going to become available till closer to the game. Maybe somebody like him who's going to see a big bump in his opportunities. That's what I'd be waiting on. We got the Bulls versus the Pacers next. We've got Josh Giddey, Lonzo Ball, Kobe White, Kevin Huerter, all game time decisions. Dusan Vucevic, Pat Williams are all out. 9.5 point spread. Josh Giddey has been balling, considered him, but the matchup is average. So you're kind of just betting on that because of recent form. You can run the same filters here for the Indiana Pacers because Benedict Mathurin is out. And he's only had 3 games out this season as well. And there's 2 players that really stand out to me. Pascal Siakam scored like an absolute demon without Mathurin in the lineup. Siakam didn't see any extra minutes in a lot of these games. Did see a lot of volume, though. And it's interesting. I'd probably like to investigate how much time do they normally spend together on the court anyway, Mathurin coming off the bench. And I think that's what I'd say if you're betting on Pascal, I ask you to consider this because Benedict Mathurin, since Aaron Naismith returned from his injury, Benedict Mathurin's been playing off the bench anyway. So I don't know how many of his minutes stack with Pascal Siakam's, but when you look at these games without Benedict Mathurin, earlier in the season, Benedict Mathurin was in the starting lineup with Pascal. So all I'm saying is to double check. But Pascal's numbers without him look fantastic. Same as Miles Turner. Miles Turner's numbers look great. Miles Turner actually has a decent matchup too. So I did consider his 17.5. There is a blowout risk, I'd say, but his matchup to score some points is fantastic. These Bulls seem soft against centers, soft against the pick and roll, soft above the break, like soft as a boiled egg, baby. So Miles Turner, that's one that I'm probably leaning towards at this moment. But outside of that, nothing's really caught my attention. We've got the Raptors versus the Magic. And yeah, since Quickly kind of returned, I've kind of avoided betting on the Raptors. It's hard to build a strong argument for them. So if you look at games with Barrett and Quickly for Scotty Barnes, his points below his season average, his assists below his season average, and his rebounds are pretty much similar. So we're looking at points and assists here. 24.1 points and assists against a season average of 26.2. The line's at 24.5. He's up against the Orlando Magic, and it's a somewhat difficult matchup. They don't allow points around the basket, where Scotty likes to score a lot of his. They play at a very slow pace as well. They don't allow points to spot up shooters, yada, yada, yada. So I think it's a tough as hell matchup here for Scotty Barnes. I considered the under in his points and assists. Last times he's played the Orlando Magic, 23 points and assists and 25 points and assists. So they pretty much set the line right in between that. And in these games, one of them was without Barrett, one of them without Quickly. But I couldn't really find an edge in that. And I found something similar when I looked at everyone in this game. This Orlando team, I don't really want to bet on anyone in that. So I think actually that's a lie. The only one I did consider betting on is Wendell Carter Jr. and his rebounds. He's pretty much outplayed Goga for minutes. So he's the starting center for the foreseeable future. He's predicted to play 27 minutes. So if we look at games where he plays 25 to 30, I'm doing this live, by the way. The hit rate's not fantastic. 8 out of the last 20. He did have 10 rebounds against the Toronto Raptors in 30 minutes the last time they played. In the game prior to that, in 18 minutes, he did have 9 rebounds. So that one is an okay bet, I would say. I probably still wouldn't bet it, though. It's not strong enough, I'd say. But it's a decent look. Recent form's there. Matchup is okay. He's done well against Toronto Raptors. We've got the New York Knicks versus the Miami Heat now. And I think we've got a few game time decisions in this one too. We've got Josh Hart that we're waiting on. Mitch Robinson might play. Harkes and Andrew Wiggins, their game time decisions for the Miami Heat. There's two bets that I considered here. The first one's on Tyler Hero. We know the Knicks give up the most points in the pick and roll. Tyler Hero, ball dominant guard, 26% of his points coming within the pick and roll. He's also smoked the New York Knicks earlier this season with 34 points. But the one thing I'll call out here, he shot 60% from the field. He was 8 from 13 in this game. He went absolutely crazy. I don't expect him to do that again. Also, Tyler Hero is one of those guys where even just because it's a good matchup doesn't mean he's going to perform. Like if we look at how he's performed against the bottom 10 teams in points in the pick and roll, he's only over this line in 9 out of 22 games. Look at the same filters without Jimmy Butler. He's only over in 6 out of 12, averaging 25 points. So what I'm calling out here is even though Tyler Hero's got a great matchup, doesn't mean he's going to perform well. So that kind of stopped me there. Jalen Brunson looked at it under in his points prop today. He gets a Davion Mitchell matchup, so that's going to be a little bit difficult for him. The Miami Heat don't foul at all. Fewest free throws allowed in the league. Above average when it comes to defending the pick and roll. Good at defending in isolation and in transition. Their weak spot is spot-up shooters. And so I was thinking Jalen Brunson is a tough matchup to score here. But Jalen Brunson can get a little bit crafty with it, right? So 24.5, 25.5. I'm leaning that way. You could also pivot to an over in his assists, but hasn't necessarily been diamond up recently. So I think a lot of these, what I'm talking you through, they're pretty good looks, right? But they're probably not looks that I love enough at this point in time. I probably have to dive a little bit deeper. And with a slate so big, I haven't had the time to necessarily dive so deep. The next one, we got the Thunder versus the Spurs. I spoke you through Isaiah Hartenstein, what the look is there. There's blowout risk in this game. It's written all over it. What's the spread in this game? 13.5 points. I'd probably be looking at someone like Aaron Wiggins, but Aaron Wiggins' lines aren't available right now. So we're going to have to pass on that. Could look at fading Chris Paul once again in a terrible matchup for him. In head-to-head matchups against OKC, he's scored some points and he's dimed up. But no Wemby now makes it a little bit tricky. So, yeah, I can't get a good read of the San Antonio Spurs team right now. And for the Thunder players, I'd probably be looking at someone off the bench if I'm being for real with y'all. Pelicans versus Jazz. And this game doesn't have too many game time decisions. It just has a lot of people that are out. Utah pretty much don't have Clarkson, Collins, Kessler, Markkanen, and Sexton. So Isaiah Collier probably sees a lot of usage rate, but we've got a small sample size of Isaiah Collier because I did consider his assists. We know what he's been doing. The line's at 9.5. But games without all of these players, he's got a very small sample size. One game without all of them, and that's the game against Portland where he absolutely sucked. Kessler's been somewhat reliable, but even without Markkanen, Collins, Sexton, and Clarkson, over in 2 out of 3, one of those games was the Pelicans. We had 11 assists in overtime, though. So at 9.5, wasn't necessarily down to play it. Zion, I couldn't tell you what Zion does today. Do they double him? Do they force a lot of kickouts? Do they let him? I don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, a little bit cautious around that. CJ McCollum, like I said earlier, fantastic matchup. Hasn't been playing very well. 6.5 point spread. I think he sees volume, but now you're just risking it all on variance. Does he shoot the ball well is the only question. I did consider Jose Alvarado at his PRA. 13.5 is what we're looking at here. Now, Jose Alvarado is only expected to play, or projected to play, about 20 minutes, where he had been projected to play a lot higher. But if we look at games where he plays 18 to 23 minutes with Zion Williamson in the lineup, over this line, you're 5 out of 8 games. One of those games was against Utah, and you went crazy. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists in only 23 minutes against Utah last time. But that's clearly an outlier, so I wasn't down for that. I do like it, but if he's going to get less time, probably don't like it as much. Then we've got the Clippers versus the Lakers. Norm Powell's a game-time decision again. LeBron, Luka, game-time decisions. Austin Reeves, game-time decision, but he likely doesn't play. So until that's confirmed, I really can't take a bet on them. And then we've got the Wolves versus the Suns. And Julius Randle's a game-time decision. Anthony Edwards should be back, but Bradley Beal's a game-time decision too. What are my thoughts on this? I was thinking about Anthony Edwards. I know his affinity for Kevin Durant. Played well in both games, 24 and 33 points against Phoenix in the 2 games this season. Anthony Edwards coming back after a suspension, has a really good matchup too. Pick and roll, 3rd most points allowed in the pick and roll, 4th most points allowed in transition. So Anthony Edwards does have a fantastic matchup in this game. Too early for me to take it. Probably want to wait on the Julius Randle news. But outside of that, what else is there? Nick Richards considered the boards, but yeah, didn't love him enough. I only played them once, and yeah, 5 rebounds in that game. Didn't see the minutes, so not loving too much right now. Once these lineups are confirmed and we know who the hell he's playing, then I think it makes it a lot easier. It's not often you see, you're always going to see this many game time decisions. I get that, but a lot of these game time decisions on these games are really important, really key players right now. So I don't want to jump the gun. I also don't want to put bets out saying let's bet this and cash it out if this person plays. I don't want to put heaps of those things out. I'll do it from time to time if I see value in it, but I don't want to get in the habit of doing that. So I'm going to do the sensible thing. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till I know who's playing or not. Then I'm going to take my bet probably closer to the game. But that's all I got for you today, lads. I do hope you found some value in that. Let me know. Drop me a comment down below. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I wish you the best of luck, though. Hope you cash out on this massive slate. Please practice bankroll management. Gamble responsibly if you want to. But I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.